Greetings and welcome to Week 3, Unit 1 on Instructional Components. In the earlier week, we understood key aspects of Merrill's, Kolb's and Gagney's instruction design theories. And now we will look at in this unit, we try to understand the role of some instructional components. We presented earlier the instruction can be presented like this. Instruction uses instructional components. Then instruction approaches are, you have several large number with some samples: direct instruction, project-based learning, problem-based learning, experiential learning, and so on. And then instruction follows some kind of a content sequencing: easy to difficult, concrete to abstract, abstract to concrete, general to specific, and so on. Right now, we are going to look at instructional components. What it means, whatever instruction the teacher chooses, you are using certain type of activities within your what I have to use the word instruction, saying that you give an introduction, give an anecdote, or try to write down something on the board, or project with some slides on some material, or you may play even an audio. So these are all different types of activities that we do, and these instructional components, we arrange them the way we think as a teacher are more effective. And it also depends on the kind of resources that you have. So let us define this, because every teacher should not only get familiar with a variety of instructional components, how do you integrate them into your classroom, find out in what context they are more effective, and so on. Instructional components are elements of instruction that are not directly related to the content, but facilitate effective instruction that can lead to good learning. So if you take any instructional component, it is not related to the subject matter, but that subject matter may be better taught, or better instruction can take place when using a particular instruction component. That's the idea. These instructional components are the essential building blocks of effective teaching that help structure, deliver, and assess learning. These components work synergistically to promote student engagement, understanding, and application of knowledge. Some sample instructional components are: you give examples and non-examples, or you give some kind of a feedback, or there are what are called graphic organizers, case-based instruction, and peer learning. Whether a particular type of instructional component can be used or not depends on a number of issues: the time available, the infrastructure that is required, that is available, and so on and on. So the choice will have to be made by the instructor. So coming to instruction design, it is a choice of the instructor to select his or her model of instruction design. We have presented 3. You can explore some more. For example, even if you choose one of these Merrills and let's say Kolb's, you may or may not be able to go through all the phases that they have defined. Even if you are able to go through some phases, it is still useful. So that particular choice is made by the instructor. The choice can be explicit or implicit. 3 instruction design models were explored earlier, and these are instruction design that is based on Merrill's first principles of learning, instruction design that is based on Kolb's experiential learning theory, instruction design based on 9 events of instruction of Gagné. Here we limit our identification of instructional components to Merrill's and Kolb's instructional design. Though we limit ourselves to these two, but the components that we are going to identify will be applicable to any instruction design model or instruction design theory. A particular instruction design theory may suggest some components which were not mentioned in this, but that's okay. Most of the instructional components can be used as per any instruction design theory. Okay, let's take the case of Merrill's model, which was presented in detail in the previous week. There are 4 phases in this. Once we start with the problem definition, what we call, in our case, it is the course outcome from which we start. You have 4 phases. Activation, it connects new learning to prior knowledge. Then the demonstration, which shows what is to be learned. Then application, it lets the learners practice new knowledge or skills. Then the 4th phase, help learners reflect, generalize and transfer learning to real life contexts. So these are the 4 phases. Now let us look at, for each phase, what are the possible instructional activities or instructional components that are relevant. So we call them ICs, instructional components for activation phase. The purpose, again, as we said, connect new learning to what the students already know. The kinds of components that can be used are advanced organizers. These are graphic organizers. Graphically, you present some information. You have concept maps, brainstorming, pre-assessment quizzes, analogies and metaphors, prior knowledge discussion. These are the components that you can process. So the teacher decides which one he would like to use to present effectively or to address the issue on hand, and then follows that. It doesn't mean that the teacher will have to use all of them for every time activation is used. No, not necessary. Now, similarly, ICs for demonstration phase, the purpose is again to show models, examples or illustrations of the concept or skill. So the lectures with visuals, like you can use a video or show a set of slides, or you can put even an audio. And then you have simulations, for which you need to have some software tools, and then you should in advance use that to simulate, and so that in the classroom you can demonstrate what happens when something is altered. Then video demonstrations, case studies, worked examples and guest lectures. These are some possible ICs for demonstration phase. Then come the application phase. The purpose is to allow learners to actively practice with feedback. That is, during this phase, the learners will be working either by themselves or as groups to practice something, and some feedback is given. Again, the way they would work will depend on the technology that you have access to. So you have hands-on labs, design tasks, a guided practice, reflection journals, collaborative problem solving, coding exercises or CAT tasks, formative assessments. These formative assessment and reflection journals. These act as the kind of feedback, and then guided practice and collaborative problem solving. These are the ones where the students and faculty are likely to be involved together. Then you have ICs for integration. Here we encourage learners to incorporate new knowledge into their personal and professional context. This we have already explained that the way the brain is structured, that it can only add. It learns by linking new information to what you already have, what is already there in the brain. If it is not linked to that, then the new information stays in isolation and it is likely to be forgotten. And that is the reason why integration is a very, an essential process of learning. So how do you do this? The components that can be used: reflection journals, project presentations, portfolios, group discussions, and teaching pairs. That you can ask one student to teach to another something. The other student will teach something to the other one. So this is also one of the instructional components. Sorry. One thing that you should remember, that the instructor needs to master the effective implementation, effective use of these instructional components. Some of them will take more time, so you should have that required time. And then it also depends on the number of students you have in the classroom. But fortunately, in today's context, a lot of technology tools are available and the numbers can be handled, but the instructor will have to master the particular technology he opts for, and he must have the necessary infrastructure as well. Now let us look at the Kolb's ELT model, experiential learning theory model. There are 6 phases of ELT. First one is experiencing. It is a concrete experience. You want the student to go through that. And then next phase is called publishing. That is sharing and describing the experience. Okay. Then processing, reflecting and analyzing the experience. Now you reflect on what you have experienced. First you have presented the experience to others, and then you are reflecting on what you have experienced and analyzing that experience, that is processing, and then you are generalizing, that is deriving principles and concepts from after processing your experience. And next phase is applying, planning for future use, and then assessing, that is you are evaluating understanding and progress, to what extent you have understood, how far you have gone, that is the assessing. So these are the 6 phases of Kolb's ELT model. Now let us look at the instructional components that can be used for each phase. For experiencing, experience means here engage students in direct meaningful experience. That is the purpose of this phase. So instructional components can be hands-on labs, simulations or virtual labs, field visits, role play, demonstrations, problem-based learning scenarios, experiential workshops, case study enactments. So these are all the possible ICs that can be used for this in this phase. ICs for publications. Now, publishing phase allows learners to articulate what happened and share perspectives. The ICs can be group discussions, peer debriefing, learning journals, mind mapping experiences, sharing sessions using visual tools like posters and sketches, concept sketching or drawing. These are tools used for publishing. Next, the learner processes his experience, analyze the experience and uncover patterns or meanings. So here you have guided reflection questions, reflective journals, critical incident analysis, small group analysis of outcomes, concept mapping, what went well and what didn't, exercises. So these are the different ways, means to use to process the experience. Then you start generalizing. So in this phase, you connect the experience to to theory and general principles. So the instructional components for this can be instructor mini lectures, analogies and models, conceptual readings, diagrammatic explanation, worked examples, concept comparison charts, collaborative theory building. Okay. Then comes applying phase. Use learned concepts to solve new problems or transfer to real-world settings. Project-based learning, case study solutions, design challenges, coding and modeling tasks, scenario-based planning, prototyping and testing, real-world application tasks. So you can use one or some of them for performing the activities related to this phase. Then finally, ICs for assessing. Assess understanding, performance and integration. So you can see that phases of yield Kolb's will slightly overlap with those of Merrill's principles. Formative and summative assessments are is one of the ICs for assessing. Peer and self-assessment, rubric-based project evaluation, concept inventories, learning portfolios, performance rubrics, reflection with feedback. So these are the possible scenarios. I shouldn't say scenarios, these are the possible instructional components that you can use. Now, what we are going to do in the following 4 units, we selected some which are likely to be used more in our context. These include analogies and metaphors, graphic organizers, concept maps, concept inventories, mind mapping, feedback, portfolios, learning journals, reflection journals. What we will be doing, we will present each one what they are and show some samples. But with regard to your particular, a teacher will have to generate all this material with respect to the subject that he is teaching and in the context in which he is operating. Okay. So, we will be focusing in the next 4 units these selected instructional components. And in the next unit, we will understand the use of analogies, metaphors, and graphic organizers. And thank you for your attention.